Hi, I'm going to center some clay today. First, we want to make sure that the clay is smacked down good and firm, secure to the wheel head. We'll get a nice high speed. I usually don't use the absolute highest speed because that can throw a person off too. What I do is I'll have mine on kind of a medium-high speed. And then you saw already, all I did was add water and then securely, gently apply pressure with both of my hands, smoothing the clay most inward. The goal is to bring all the clay most inward so that you can have a symmetric pot. All right, so I'm going to do that again, re-wetting, and then smooth the clay inward. As long as your thumbs are on top, pushing the clay down, and your hands are wrapped around the outside, you're in the right position. You just have to remember to continue to add water. Every 3 seconds is what I tell my students, because it can dry out so easily, and as soon as you let it dry out too much, it can pull and twist inside itself. There we go. That's centered. Okay, so let's do that again, except this time I'll show you what happens when you let it get dried out. Smack it on real good. Get that medium-high speed. You see how it's going off from side to side. Adding a little water. I'm securely placed. My forearms are on the splash pan. My thumbs are crisscrossed over the top, pushing down. Sometimes next to each other is good, like this, as long as they're in contact with each other and pushing down. And every few seconds, add water. Keep it nice and wet. If it gets warm, that's your sign to add more water. Now what I'm doing is I'm purposely letting it dry out. Do you see how it's pushing my hands around? Okay, so what I did is I let it dry out, and I can feel it tugging my hands back and forth, back and forth. What that does is it puts a twist inside the body of clay. So then we re-wet and bring it up tall, mash it back down, re-wet, bring it up tall, and mash it back down. I like to use my thumbs to mash it down a lot of times. Sometimes people will put their hand over the top to mash it down. Both methods work as long as you are braced. Notice my forearms stay down on the splash pan the whole time. My head is leaning over the clay. There we go. And that one is centered as well. All right, let's try one more. This one's a little bigger. And because it's a little bigger, I'm not going to have it go quite as fast. Let me show you what happens. Do you see how it's pushing me around? And I usually have a really easy time centering. So I have to get a little more force behind me and push in and forward. But this high speed isn't necessary for centering. We can center at a slightly slower speed and still use the same method. Thumbs are over the top, wetting constantly. I'm just recycling that water on the bat, pushing it up against the clay. Do you see how it's gathering up here? That's re-wetting the clay while I'm centering it. Holding steady, not clenching all of my muscles and my jaw, popping vessels in under my skin. All I'm doing is holding steady and keeping it wet, and my steady hold and the round form I'm giving my hands allows the clay to follow that form. I hope this helps.